Welcome to today's talk. I'd like to introduce our speaker. It's Assistant Professor Izak Lattu of Sociology of Religion, and he's the Director of the Center for the Study of Religion, Pluralism, and Democracy at Satya Wacana Christian University in Salatiga, Indonesia, and a visiting professor at the Center for Religious and Cross-Cultural Studies at Gadjah Mada University in Yogyakarta. Izak's forthcoming book, Collective Memory and Interreligious Engagements, will be published by Penn State Press later next year.
Yeah.
And his talk today is Indonesia's Religions and Their Contested Narratives, Government Policy and Cultural Chronicle. I hand the mic over to you.
Okay.
Pak Lattu.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Duncan, Pak Chris. I called him Pak Chris because he's expert in Indonesia, especially in Tobelo. He speaks good Tobelo. So thank you so much for having me here in this network, and especially in NYU. This is my first time to NYU. My talk today is about Indonesian religions, their contested narratives, government policy, and cultural chronicle. So I will talk first about government policy, especially violence within government policy itself, and how school systems in Indonesia also discriminate people. It's supposed to be like place of multiculturalisms or developing strong foundation for multiculturalism. Instead, it's become like place of discrimination. Then I go to oral forms or local forms of interreligious relationship that based on collective memories in people initiative. So as you may know, that Indonesia is well known for its peaceful relationship among world religions. Statistically, 85% or even more of Indonesian citizens are Muslims, but the country also holds a significant number of Protestant, Catholic, Hindus, Buddhists, Confucianism, and followers of local religions. The country underwent a number of conflict instigated by religions such as Christian-Muslim conflict in Maluku, Central Sulawesi, as well as terrorist attack in many parts of Indonesia. Indonesia also experienced suicide bomb in Bali, and also terrorist attack in Jakarta and Surabaya recently. So, responding to the outbreak of violence, national government have established interfaith clerical forums or some initiative for interfaith relationship, but so far it is not really working. So yet the model of official dialogue still fail to ensure peaceful interreligious relationship in Indonesia. So still. So when government fail to ensure respect to religious diversity, so the question is how civic recognition through orality function to strengthen interreligious solidarity in quotidian and imaginative interaction. So quotidian and imaginative interaction. So
what was the first word?
Quotidian, everyday, face to face.
Yeah.
So taking local interreligious engagement into account, this presentation explore ritual symbols and oral narratives to unpack interreligious diversity, understanding relationship in Indonesia. So using a cultural sociology approach and indigenous knowledge in folklore studies to examine interreligious relationship in Indonesia, my paper offers pattern of interreligious engagement for an oral-oriented society to enrich existing interreligious approaches. The articles concludes that interreligious relationship in an oral-oriented society such as Maluku, Toraja, and Central Java, so I cover the area, need to include forms of orality and collective memory. So Indonesia is a nation that places religion at the heart of political system, as you may know. Since pre-independence Indonesia, the conversation in Indonesian preparation for like Indonesian Committee to prepare for independence, they already talk about the place of religion within Indonesian political system. So historical document of the conversation, what we call in Indonesia Risalah BPU PKI and National Constitution Izak, or we call it in Indonesia Undang-Undang Dasar 1945, have emphasized that connection between national ideology and religious diversity is strong in Indonesia. It is interconnected. Religion in political realm confers actually both. It is both world and local religion. So it's including Kejawen, Kaharingan, Sunda Wiwitan, Parmalim, Aluk Tadolo, etc., etc. However, in practical level, Indonesia borrow Jonathan Fox's argument that Indonesia practice something like favoritisms, like religious favoritisms that only 6 oral religion recognized while rejecting local religion in political sphere. The Indonesian government through presidential decree, or in Indonesia we call it Penetapan Presiden number 1, PNPS 1965, or then we can call it also blasphemy law, took a different direction that civic religious pluralisms in national constitution. So national constitution actually recognize all religion, including local religion, but in PNPS law, in the blasphemy law, they only recognize 6 world religion: Islam, Protestantism, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. The presidential decree has excluded indigenous religion that existed long before the introduction of world religion and the formation of Indonesia as a nation. With this in the mind, the government through the decree forced indigenous religious communities to choose 1 out of 6 state-recognized religion. Communities that resisted the idea of forced conversion are considered atheists and subjected to structural discrimination in public services, including civil registration, school, and hospital services. Indigenous religious communities suffer after the fail of 30 September movement, or we call it G30S. During this period in 1965, during the period of transition from Sukarno presidency to New Order presidency, the government forced indigenous community to convert to one of the 6 recognized religion. Using the politics of anti-communists, the New Order government ordered every Indonesian citizen to become a registered member of one formal religion. Rejection to the policy will stigmatize as anti-Pancasila or anti-national ideology, and as a the member, then they will then label as a member of Indonesian Communist Party or PKI, and led to punishment or torture. Another exemplary of government policy that challenged religious pluralism in Indonesia, so that's a PNPS is one, and the second is the law of marriage in Indonesia. Law number 1, 1974. The marriage by law, especially chapter 2, verse 1, claims that government can only legalize a marriage of couple who have shared religion. Other than that, your marriage is out of national recognition. So religious fundamentalism, so I go to the religious fundamentalism and violence in Indonesia. Religious fundamentalism has been a challenge for interreligious relationship in Indonesia. Existing research by national, like non-government organizations such as White Institute and Satya Institute in Jakarta found out that in the research in 2017 that this one, I saw it. They, oh, wow. This is probably, yeah, this is the, yeah, they found out that that 1 million of Indonesian Muslim, or equivalent to 7.7% of Indonesian Muslim, are ready to conduct violence toward others. According to the White Institute survey, the percentage increase. So this is this is increased. It increased from 51% in 2016 to 57.1% in 2017. The institute also discovered that a number of Indonesians joined ISIS. So this is the number of Indonesians joined ISIS escalate from 500 members in 2016 to 800 members in 2017. So it's it increased quite significantly. At the same tune, Satya Institute for Democracy and Peace research on religious freedom in Indonesia illustrate the absurd of violence against minority religions in Indonesia. Politically based conflict before and after government election in Jakarta especially create division among fundamentalist and progressive group in Jakarta. Some also may say that the oligarchy play a role there, or economic also play a role there. But from the election or government election in Jakarta in 2017, we can see that there is a huge gap between people who believe in progressive recognition of religious diversity and some exclusive fundamentalist group that reject the idea of religious diversity. The institute also found out the institute found that violence occur against minority groups in Indonesian politics. As a result, the institute cites Jakarta as the most intolerant city in Indonesia. So Jakarta became the most intolerant city in Jakarta. But surprisingly, not only Jakarta, but surprisingly, they also report that Yogyakarta, as one of the heart of Javanese value, and we believe, and people believe that Japanese value is like harmonist value, based on harmony, based on peace. But what the institution found out in Yogyakarta is it's become another city of intolerance after Jakarta. So Yogyakarta became another city of intolerance. Previous research indicate that educational institution in Yogyakarta, in Jakarta, and many places, as high school and university become the site of fundamentalism rather than multiculturalism. Students, religious-based organization in public school, such as high school Muslim student spiritual group, or we call it rock race in Indonesia. Welcome friends. Yeah, hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the beginning.
Yeah. So I start over again.
Sit at the table. Do you
So
want to start over?
no, that's okay. So previous research indicate that in educational institutions such as high school and university in Indonesia have become the site of fundamentalism rather than multiculturalism. Student religious-based organization in public schools such as high school Muslim student spiritual group, or we call it ROHIS, Karunia Islam, and high school Christian student spiritual group, or ROKRIS, Karunia Kristen, have created wide social gaps among students. The research claims that these high school student organizations have strong connection with fundamentalist university student organization. So it's links to Salafi movement. High school religious-based organization function as the first recruitment site. So the first way to recruit fundamentalists in university start from high school, start from ROHIS or ROKRIS in Karunia Kristen. According to the Indonesian National Agency for Combating Terrorism, the public report in May 2018, fundamentalism and radicalism have penetrated almost all top 10 universities in Indonesia. So almost all top 10 universities in Indonesia is already penetrated by fundamentalism and radicalism, which are public schools supported by state budget. The National Agency have also conducted research in 15 provinces out of 33 provinces in Indonesia, where the National Agency for Combating Terrorism found out that 39% of college students publicly express ideas of anti-democracy and anti-Pancasila.
The other.
Okay, right here. Yeah, right here. So that's shows that the radicalisms in schools, including university, is now going up. The report concludes that the growth of fundamentalisms in public university is related to transnational ideology such as Wahhabism, Ikhwanul Muslimin, Hizbut Tahrir, and etc. Especially in the last decade of the New Order government, yeah, it's going up. Unlike Islamic fundamentalism, I will say that not only Islamic fundamentalism, but there is also Christian fundamentalism among school attended. Unlike Islamic fundamentalism in Indonesia that work to establish an Islamic state in Indonesia and modern caliphate in global context, Christian fundamentalism among students in Indonesia seek to convert non-Christian students to Christianity, as well as to convert mainline Christian students to evangelical Christianity. So still like the same. Although the report did not explore fundamentalisms for non-Muslim students, but fundamentalisms to convert others to Christianity is the mission of evangelical student organizations such as Fellowship of Inter-Campus Christian Student and Indonesian Student Evangelical Institution in Indonesia. Considering the rise of fundamentalisms in Indonesia, government has worked to create public sphere for interreligious dialogue in many levels. The Indonesian government since independence had made interreligious relationship a focal concern. The Office of Interreligious Relationship is located under Mora. Mora is Minister of Religious Affairs. And in New Order era, the government submerged public religious disagreement under policy of the Command for the Restoration of Security and Order, COPCAMTIP. Ironically, the mushrooming of conflict in the first decade of the Reformation era has paralyzed the main Reformation spirit of politics and freedom and democracy. Under Jokowi presidency on October 2017, the head of the state appointed the President Special Envoy for Interfaith Civilization, Dialogue and Cooperation. So there is a new office under presidents that work for like Special Envoy for Interfaith Civilization, Dialogue and Cooperation. The existence of the Special Envoy is a reflection of government seriousness to create peaceful dialogue in Indonesia. In addition to this government initiative, joint decree of Ministry of Religious Affairs, it can be also another means of discrimination. Joint decree of Ministry of Religious Affairs and the Ministry of Home Affairs number 8, 2006 and number 9, 2006. The government, through this, the government opens avenue for religious elders to institute dialogue through the Forum for Interreligious Communication, FKUB. So they have Forum Indonesia, we call it Forum Kerukunan Umat Beragama. In many cities in Indonesia. So government then have the Forum of Interreligious Communication in many places in Indonesia. However, the FKUB itself in many places in Indonesia, not only in province that Muslim is like majority place, but also in some Christian place. My research in border between Indonesia and Maluku part with Timor-Leste also show that FKUB also, this institution is served as site of discrimination against Islam. So everything should go through this one. And research in Bali was also the same case, that it become place of discrimination against Christianity and Islam in Buddhist dominant place. So my research so we see that government policy also have some discrimination against minority group, not only Muslim, but not only against Christianity, but also when we go to place like Manado, place like Papua, Kupang, some Muslim group also suffer discrimination within Christian majority place. So it is so when I speak about discrimination in governmental level, it's not only non-Muslim that suffer discrimination. Muslim also suffer discrimination in place like that. And when we go to the school system also become a place of discrimination. Start forum like FKUB, Forum for Interreligious Communication, but it's turned to be also place for discrimination. And so the question is there any hope? Policy and cultural chronicles. So is there any hope for interreligious relationship in Indonesia? So I then will go to my field research in Toraja, Ambon, in Solo, and in Semarang, and find out that that we can have hope in cultural, quotidian, imaginative, symbolic orality sphere for that. My research on orality and civic engagement in the area that I mentioned before shows that people communicate effectively through oral forms, ritual, symbol, and verbalized narratives. Using Michael D. Jackson's idea of tool for conviviality, or bridging relationship between oneself and another, orality helps a member of society to communicate with others and to understand cultural message through ritual, symbol, and oral narratives. Rituals foster social cohesion and shape cultural bridge to create sense of komunitas. using Turner's concept of komunitas. Deep and strong solidarity regardless social division. In area like Maluku, Toraja, and Central Java, Solo, and Semarang, ritual or social dimension of ritual play an important role in strengthening social and binding the community together. In the context of Maluku, for instance, ritual create sense of komunitas after religious-based conflict occurred in the area between 1999 to 2000. Ritual and myth has become the common ground that ties the community. Borrowing from Henry Lefebvre concept of space, ritualization in Maluku serve as mental space where Malukan Christian and Muslim share a common brothership after 5 years of social unrest in this area. I have written elsewhere that ritual in private and public realm create a sense of belonging among Malukan through offline and online realities. Thus, the panaspela or ritual, the ritual enactment of social relationship rewrites the cultural text of social integration among people in the religious community in Maluku. So every time they have like reenactment of social relationship or cultural relationship, it has become a moment of rewriting mnemonic text. So not text in the book, but text in the communal imagination that strengthen relationship between interreligious community in the area. Resonates with what happened in Maluku. Ceremonial ritual in Tanah Toraja. It's like this. This is in Tanah Toraja. Rituals in Tanah Toraja creates loci comunes or common ground for social solidarity beyond religious boundaries between Aluk Tadolo, indigenous community, indigenous Christianity and Islam. So people in Toraja mark life through ritualization. So they have two important ritual in Toraja, named Rambu Solo and Rambu Tuka. So Rambu Solo is the grievance ritual, and Rambu Tuka is the ritual of happiness. So in these two ritual, animal sacrification becomes central in the rituals because every time they have like Rambu Tuka ritual for the happiness and Rambu Solo ritual for the grievance, there should be animal sacrification for the sake of in Rambu Solo ritual for the sake of the spirit to go to Torajan heaven called Puya. So animal sacrification in this context create ritualistic sphere for interreligious engagement. Sacrificial open avenue for ritualistic mental space for interreligious relationship in the area between Aluk followers, Christian followers, Christians and Muslims. The ritual event in Toraja highlights the creation. The ritual event in Toraja highlights the creation of shared mental space for interreligious engagement of Torajan who share kinship narrative. Here in Rambu Solo ritual or the grievance ritual, the ritual chronicles named Tomina. In Torajan rituals, they have Tomina who can serve as like announcer, as master of ceremony, but also as chronicles of cultural memory, narrates the kinship connection encapsulates the ancestral rapport between the family of dead and relatives whose sacrifice animal. It could be from indigenous religion, Christianity, or Islam. In Rambutuka, grievance ritual, Tomina, the ritualistic chronicles, recall the collective memory of a common ancestors, centered on a mythical figure in Toraja named Laki Padada. People in Toraja believe that Laki Padada, this particular mythical figure, is the forebear, the father of Torajan, Luwu, Bone, Goa kingdoms. So Toraja, Luwu is a Muslim kingdom, Bone and Goa, there are three Muslim kingdoms in South Sulawesi. In Torajan ritual, again, the Tomina will tell the story about relationship between Toraja, who are mostly Christian, with Bone who live in Toraja, that mostly Muslim, or people from Goa and Luwu come to Toraja to participate in the ritual, the grievance ritual. So in the sense, the Tomina itself plays as the one who rewrite the text of cultural relationship in the area. Also equally important in the chronicle story of Toraja and reconciliation is relationship between Bone and Torajan during what Torajan called Topadatindo War in 16th century. There is a war between Toraja and Bone in 16th century. The memory of Topadatindo's oath between Toraja and Bone, or it's become peace agreement and intercultural acceptance between Toraja Christian, Aluk, and Bone. And it has created like sense of freedom of religious practices in Toraja's area, because Muslim, Christian, and Aluk believers could live together with strong mutual understanding. Ritualization also functions as a bridge for interreligious community where religious fundamentalism strongly occupy the urban public sphere in Javanese city of Solo. So Solo is become also one place of ritual. Although holding a significant number of Christian and Buddhists, the city of Solo in Central Java is well known for its Muslim radicalisms. The city served as a home to some radical Islamic groups, Mruki Network, Al-Mukmin Islamic Boarding School, Jama Ansarut Tauhid, Front Pemuda Islam Nusantara, Majelis Mujahid Indonesia, to name some of them. Yet the city also provides ground for interreligious relationship. The Javanese ceremony during Idul Fitri, Eid Mubarak, called Halal Bihalal. This is my family during Halal Bihalal. I couldn't find any. I tried to find some of my picture, but I couldn't find it out. But this is after Halal Bihalal in my own family. But my research is in bigger family than this family.
What is halal bihalal?
Halal Bihalal means probably Hans can translate it better because he knows Arabic. But Halal Bihalal means people come together asking for pardon and forgive each other if they conduct any wrongdoing in a year. So it's like meeting together and have like communal reconciliation. So the Japanese Halal Bihalal again operates as a key to interreligious relationship in Solo. Borrowing from Clifford Gertz, he also claimed that Halal Bihalal is, quote, mutual begging of pardon, as it intertwines Japanese tradition and Muslim teaching. Girls argue that halal bihalal comes from the Javanese celebration, or he called Riyaya, and Islamic Eid Mubarak or Idul Fitri that center on forgiveness. Using Lombard, Danish Lombard three-stage of Islamization in Java, folklorization, formalization, and Arabization, halal bihalal is an example of assimilation of Islamic tradition to Javanese practices. Nowadays, the ritual is a Javanese, it's become Javanese celebration, open to all Javanese, regardless religious affiliation. So, in this sense, me myself, because I'm married to my wife from Java, although we are Christian, but we also celebrate halal bihalal in this sense. So it's now become, using Robert Bella concept, it can be like ritual or Javanese civil religion, I think. And it's function as epitome of interreligious relationship in the area. My 2 years research in the city of Solo, in a family named Rono Baskoro Yogyakarta family, shows that formation of civic sphere in interreligious engagement in Java family can bridge family who are very progressive in sense of interreligious relation, but also from the family who are fundamentalists. We can see that through the way they dress, like you can see that as symbols of their dress. And in this sense, halal bihalal rituals in that family that go back to Pakubuwono II, the first king of Kasunanan Surakarta, who lived in 1711 to 1748. So this is the family goes up to the Sultanate, to Pakubuwono II. And halal bihalal ritual strengthen relationship and genealogical line of the family who believes in different religious practices such as Islam, Christianity, and even local religion. So I have my wife. In Indonesia we call it pade. So what do you call pade in English? Uncle-in-law. So kind of uncle-in-law. So my uncle-in-law, or my wife uncle, is the one who believed in kejawen, and until he died, he don't have any Christian symbol or Muslim symbol, but only Javanese word in the tomb. So still we can find local kejawen within this family. So throughout halal bihalal ritual, family members may pray according to various religious prayer and display different religious symbols such as hijab, crosses, the way they dress. Interestingly, Rono Baskara Yogyakarta family members who are connected to fundamentalist group also join this ritual, sharing collective forgiveness with non-Muslim relatives. So Rono Baskara Yogyakarta is one among millions of family in Solo or in Java who practices halal bihalal to connect interreligious communities. So even the one who you can see through the symbol that they are probably practicing fundamentalism, but in kind of Japanese interreligious civil sphere called halal bihalal, they can mingle together. And in this sense, religious boundaries is quite blurred in this sense. So I go to the symbolic dialogue, interreligious engagement without voice. So from his research in Indonesia, Gers claims that, quote, sacred symbols function as a sacred symbol function to synthesize a people ethos, the tone, characters, and quality of their lives, its moral and aesthetic styles and mood, and their worldview, the picture they have of the way things in actuality are their most comprehensive ideas of order, end quote. People ethos in many parts of Indonesia lies within the system of symbolic meaning, including meaning of significance interreligious relationship. Like I gonna go, yeah, this one. As vehicle of cultural meaning, interreligious communities in given area interact with other religious group through symbolic significance. In the same way, cultural symbolic expression in Toraja, come back to this is Toraja cemetery. So this is Muslim cemetery. Up there are Aluk and Christian. So because Muslim of Toraja believe that they have to be buried on the land, not on the rock. So this is in Suaya. This is considered like Nobel's family tomb in Suaya. So you will see symbol like that in Toraja when you go there. And unlike many parts of Indonesia, people in Toraja, Christian and Aluk continue to employ communal cemetery that carved out of rock. Despite its individual ownership, a tomb within Toraja cemetery belongs to one family, so one whole family. However, the Muslim reject the burial of body in the rocky tomb. According to Muslim belief, it is necessary to bury the body in the soil. Therefore, in the same cemetery, one might encounter Muslim tomb in the ground, while Christian and Aluk tombs on the rock walls. In this sense, the graveyard function as symbol that amalgamates a spirit of solidarity, and the tomb can be civil sphere for interreligious engagement. Every time you go back to this one, every time they have rituals like Rambu solo rituals, it's become the moment of rewriting social tags of relationship between communities. In addition, interreligious or interethnic symbol in Indonesia shape an imagination of cultural acceptance and mutual relationship. In Semarang, so we go to Semarang now. In Semarang, Central Java, the symbol of Waragendok, a cultural product of late 19th century when pre-colonial Arabic and Chinese merchants developed their settlement. So it's become epitomized ethnic mutual interaction and religious acceptance. Interreligious ethnic communities in Semarang create an imaginative animal called warak gendok. Forgive my Ambonese dialect when I say Javanese. Mas Yoyo can say that better than me. So warak gendok to illustrate the multiple belonging of interreligious interethnic relationship in the area. The head of warak gendok is a dragon, represent Chinese. The four legs, it is represent Javanese, and the body, it is represent Arab. So it's like camel. They say that the body is taken from the image of camel, and the legs is taken from the image of goat. So this is Japanese, this is Arab, and this is Chinese. So in 2014, the municipality of Semarang construct warak gendok monument in city center of Semarang to call for memory of interreligious interethnic relationship in Semarang. So I go to oral narratives and oral text in dialogue. As I mentioned before, I go back to Tomina'a, the ritual chronicles in Toraja, recalls interreligious collective narrative based on genealogical relationship and cultural oaths in ritual of Rambu Solo and Rambu Tuka. In addition, the narrative of folk song, or they call it Mabadong. So Mabadong is the song, they sing a song while make body movement in the song, in the performance. So Mabadong, or dance during ritual tradition, encapsulate cultural oral story. Mabadong folk song helps Toraja to maintain memory of religious others in cultural public sphere, while the body movement in the Mabadong tradition produce a kinetic memory that serves as the storage for Torajan collective remembrance. So every time they move body, and I borrow the concept from Maurice Halbach that body can be the sediment of the memory. So body itself can be the text for reading the cultural message. So oral narratives of interreligious relationship circulate through Tomina'a verbalization text, narrative of folk song in Mabadong, or sing and moving, but also it's go through Toraja TV and social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or what I call third orality. This is the first orality, second orality through radio and TV, and this is the third orality, it's go through virtual public sphere. So echoing oral narratives in Toraja, modern genre folk song in Maluku contributes to, this is some song, I don't know if I can play it here, but this is some, I have a couple of songs. This is, you have pop, dangdut, hip hop, reggae music in Maluku. So in Maluku today, songwriters produce music that based on folk song, what people in Maluku call kapata or folk song, and put the narrative into numerous modern genres such as reggae, hip hop, pop, dangdut. So in youth community, they will easily listen to reggae and hip hop. In many Christian area in Maluku, they can easily listen to pop, while dangdut can be music in Muslim dominated area. So borrowing from Benedict Anderson concept of unisonance is a sense of belonging among people who sing the same song as people sing national anthems. He said that when people sing national anthem, they unite in unisonance. So in the same case, in Maluku Kapata, Maluku folk song or Mabadong in Toraja, people also connect in some way or another through unisonance. So this is, in this sense, unisonance become cultural text when unisonance come into place, play within civil public sphere. It is also rewrite text of cultural relationship in the area. So conclusion, just very short. When central government policy do not guarantee freedom of religious expression or interreligious engagement, oral-oriented interreligious relation through imagined symbolic interreligious engagement provide social space for interreligious relationship in Indonesia. So when government fail to do that, schools play different way around, not as a place to develop understanding, but discrimination, then the hope go to the culture. The hope go to people mnemonic text, people cultural text. So, thank you. Yeah.
You were saying something early on
Uh,
about
the radicalization of various people and people who were opposed to interfaith marriages, I think you were saying. And I was wondering, it wasn't clear to me, is that on all sides? Is that Christian, Muslim, and Buddhist? Are there people in all those three groups? Not other groups, I don't know.
Yeah, it is very important question in Indonesia, especially when we speak about contested narratives between political narratives in the political documents with people tags in everyday life, people tags in mnemonic tags. So in governmental level, through the law number 1, 1974, people cannot go for interreligious marriage. Government, they can.
They can't be into marriage?
Yes, or if they do that, they don't have political governmental recognition on that. Unless they force or go to some places like the place in Salatiga now can do that. They can register interreligious marriage. But if we look at that from national political document, it's impossible through law number 1, 1974. But in everyday relationship, actually, in people tags, people mnemonic tags, in face-to-face quotidian reality, there are a lot of interreligious marriage. It is common among Japanese. It is common in Indonesia. So with that, we can see like it is contested. This one because it's go through legalization, it is contested, while this one go to orality, and it in some sense it twisted between legal document, need legalization, and relationship that based on orality in people's life. So in the sense, in orality, people they are fine, but don't go to legalization, you're gonna get problem there. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So the forums that you spoke about, they are different than the Harmony forums.
Yeah.
The forums that you're talking about are the places that have the legitimacy to say yes or no to the building of a mosque,
Yes.
or the building of a church,
Yes.
correct? And you paint a picture that it's majoritarianism that has been
Yes.
the result,
Right.
which has bred the contrary to what it was supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and you say the school's the same, government policy has led to majoritarianism and
Right.
discrimination.
Right.
Then I'm just wondering how culture can withstand a school system, policy from above, policy from below.
Yeah.
How do you imagine how
Yeah.
this segregation has become the norm and majoritarianism has become the
Yeah.
way decisions are made? So how does the everyday even get any room?
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Margaret. That's very good question, Ibu Margaret. I mentioned about the form of third orality. Then, in the form of third orality, through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on and so forth, now people like in Toraja, for instance, every moment of Rambu Solo moment, and my student just sent me one picture 2 weeks ago, showing Muslim Christian come together during Rambu Solo. Then Muslim use hijab as a symbol, and the Christian use necklace, cross necklace. So the narrative like this come back again to public sphere, but goes to virtual public sphere through form of third orality, and it recalling collective identity. It's recalling collective identity through the ritual public sphere, the narrative from offline Rambu Solo, for instance, now through social media, what I call third orality, go to online sphere and travel around, create the sense, rewrite the ideas of interreligious relationship, and through that in Indonesia, hoping that it can strengthen identity and interreligious identity, because culture / religion. And it's also, the narrative can also goes to government, because they also now pay attention on social media so much. And it also can go to school, like some problem in Solo, in Yogyakarta, I know that a girl want to go to the stage to read a poem, but Rokris in a school in Yogyakarta say that, Rokris Ukrainian Islam say that no, you cannot go because your voice itself is
Sacred.
It's what?
Like sacred.
Yeah, it's a sacred. It can
You should not tempt.
tempt.
Tempting people.
You can tempting because your voice can tempting boys.
Yeah.
She is a woman, and then she cannot go. But then the parents wrote letter to school, and the letter also travels through social media, and the school can take action that yes, now everybody, including women, can go up and read anything they want. So third orality through ritual public sphere also works as like it become sort of civil society or global civil society or virtual civil society that can force good narratives in school right now or in many places. Another example of the cutting of cross in many cemetery in Jogja is also. And the story goes through online public sphere, and it became national narrative, national wide attention, and the local government need to solve that. So in the sense, like I say that what happened in here, it's go through online media. It's become like to go through third orality, and it can be like virtual civil society control.
But
But let me just sort of
Yeah.
to build on that. But could you make the argument that if we just take sort of the two examples you've given, rather than those being instances
Yeah.
of sort of building a sense of pluralism and interfaith relations,
Yeah.
that's more an example of crisis management, where the official said, "Oh,
Sure.
darn it, this is, we're getting some bad publicity," and the problem is not that the crosses were cut off the graves, but the problem that the wrong people found out
Yeah.
the crosses are cut off the graves. So we see this frequently in the United States,
Yeah.
where politicians give speeches
Yeah.
at very conservative Christian
Right.
churches or gatherings, and they say things that in that situation everybody agrees with and that is completely appropriate
Right.
about, maybe about, Islam or about something of that, or oftentimes now about LGBTQ communities. But then it goes out on the internet, and people like Margaret find out,
Yeah.
or people like me find out, and we're all in an uproar. And they come out and they apologize and they say that's not what we meant.
Yeah.
We've been misunderstood.
Right.
But in the end, they're still homophobic. They're still anti-Islamic.
Sure.
They just had to make a public
Right.
confession
Right.
to sort of deny their intolerance.
Sure.
But we all know that they're still intolerant,
Sure.
and the audience that they were speaking to
Right.
still knows that, yeah, they still agree with us. They just have to say that. So they have to apologize. So
Not much anymore even.
right. So the Bupati has to come out and say,
Sure.
jangan kasih rusak itu orang Nasrani punya kubur.
Good, right.
But we all know that, wink, wink. Just, in the future, maybe we just don't let them get buried
Right,
there, right?
right.
It's not that we approve of
Sure.
or
The forum will
pro.
say,
Sure.
the forum in that community will,
Right.
will start
Yeah.
saying, well, actually, we should be in control of where certain
Right,
people get buried.
exactly.
Right.
So I sort of think to sort of just, if I could just build on this a little bit.
Right.
Like I'm in the kind of thinking again about your example of the halal be halal. And so you have this wonderful example of Christian, Muslim, interfamily, interfaith relations, and that's a very positive thing and a great sort of example of both. And if you go to someplace like North Maluku, where I work, that's everywhere, right? But the problem I see in the North Maluku case, and maybe this doesn't apply to Jawa, is that in North Maluku, for example, yes, we have family that's Muslim, and we can get along with them. Or we have certain adat relationships,
Yeah.
sort of a North Malucan equivalent of Pelagandong, and we can get along with our Kal Islam. They're our friends, and we have this long collective memory of how we're supposed to get along, and our well-being depends on positive relations with our Muslim neighbors or with our Christian neighbors. But when violence broke out in North Maluku, that didn't prevent the Christian cow from going 50 miles down the coast and massacring Muslims, right?
Right.
They would fight to the death to
Right.
protect their Muslim adat
Right.
brethren. And then
Sure,
the next
sure.
day, get on a truck and go 20 miles up the coast and massacre men, women, and children in
Right.
mosques.
Right.
So to me, it's like people can do these local positive interfaith relations, but the problem is when they zoom out,
Yeah.
those disappear.
Right.
And so in my North Malucan experience, the fact that we can have positive relations across religious lines within a family or within a particular community, it doesn't prove that interfaith relations are possible.
Yeah.
It proves that it shows you why Islam is the problem, or it shows you why Christianity is the problem. Because I can get along with my neighbor because he's able to look past his Christian beliefs and relate to me as adat brethren. But the problem is when those Christians get involved, everything goes to heck. Or when those Muslims get involved,
Yeah.
so religion remains the problem. So you can have these localized examples, like you said, where things are great, but you go just one step out,
Right.
and it all just falls apart, and you get Maluku, you get North Maluku.
Right.
So you think about
Right.
Pelagandong relationships in Maluku. We'll protect you, but we're going to go kill those guys. So I'm sort of wondering, how does, you're an optimist, I'm a pessimist. So I'm just sort of wondering, how do we
Yeah.
reconcile our sort of,
Sure. Thank you, Chris. It's great. Especially, it's give idea to see that, again, go back to the contested narratives that in area where, like that, in Ambon as well, we have, like, during last election, national election, people who work for peace also express their fundamentalist idea. Not that they choose this particular figure, then they say that, but they express that, their fundamentalist idea. So it's become like contested again that in cultural level, culture can be site for people to gather together, but when we go out of this cultural site, go to political contestation with all the political interests, it can be different. So that's why I say that in political document, in political activisms, the narrative of interreligious dialogue or interreligious relationship is very much problematic in the context of Indonesia. The question is there any hope? We can probably hope in this cultural relationship. So you were right that like you mentioned about in North Maluku that people can go and save this local adat elder while went to the truck and kill either Muslim or Christian. So we can see that at least we have little hope, little hope in culture. Other than that, we don't have any hope at all. I mean, before Margaret go that, so it's I agree with you that it could be like mismanagement of interreligious diversity since probably not only Orde Baru but since Soekarno presidency. Yeah, Zaman Belanda. Go back to that. Yeah, because the pillarization of the Dutch also contribute to this. The pursuing of the Dutch also contribute to this sense. Okay, Margaret?
You were going to ask a question.
Okay. Yeah. What you call third oral using social media and others, I quite agree with you that I'm more pessimist. For me, it has to be like the key is politics. When the political power is in charge, things get better in the sense that it's quite true. People might engage in social sphere, in cultural sphere. People do halal bihalal, but within themselves, they still think negatively about Muslim.
Right.
And we can see that from social media.
Right.
Nowadays, the videos about that promote negativity, but the negative aspect of Islam is very popular. So either apologetical debates between one pastor who converted from Islam and one ulama who converted from Christianity, it's very popular. Even among my friends or my acquaintances whom I thought they are pluralists.
Yeah.
So they still think that, well, Islam is false religion, something like that. Like so, and I think that relates to what the church teach them. So whether they behave nicely with their family who are from different religions, with their friends who are from different religions, they still have a negative mindset toward the religion.
Right.
So that's why I think culture. But your example with Toraja, it's most likely because the culture is very strong.
Right.
But for the cases like in Jawa, I think you did better politics. You need to get the
policy
with the politics.
Right. Thank you, Hans. I think it's echoing what Pak Chris also says that even though in cultural public sphere you can be open, but then at the same time you have like hatred toward other religion as well. This is very good, and it also helps me to think about this, that at least cultural tax, cultural public sphere, civil sphere can hamper the movement toward radicalism. That's why in Indonesia, like now calling for strengthening culture is very important, like what happened in Toraja or in Java. Like in Christianity, we also have like local theology, while in Islam, like Islam berkemajuan, Islam Nusantara is also like calling for the presence of culture within our community, interreligious or religious communal life. Yeah. Margaret, you want to say something?
I actually was going to open this question about culture versus politics, which, and I wonder if anyone that wants to comment on this. So, Professor Lattu is offering this small hope that with these cultural, third oral, all that stuff, but it seems to me that there's just as many cases where the online media social media has led to very intolerant viral behavior.
Right.
Just think of the Chinese woman in Maidan who her house was burned and she was put in prison. I mean, we know that all of these cases. So, what is other hopefulness? For instance, the last election, especially the Ahok mobilization, has woken a lot of people up to this idea that there's a problem, especially in universities and in the bureaucracy. So there's this plan now to vet faculty at universities, to get Hizb ut-Tahrir out of here, out of there. It's actually creating purges in some places. Is that a good idea? That's a state trying to do something about it. Is banning FPI, for instance, a possibility now? Is that a good idea? What are some other ideas of what to do that now that everybody says, oh my goodness, we have an intolerance problem? What do we do?
Okay. So
Sidney Jones.
Sorry?
We need Sidney Jones.
So it can go like from structural approach and this cultural approach. In structural approach, at least like new office that Jokowi's presidency just pointed, like a special envoy for dialogue and global interreligious dialogue and civilization, it's another hope. But we hope for more. That I wrote in Jakarta Post a couple of years ago about terrorist attack in Yogyakarta, and I say that you need. The title is "Violence Doesn't Have a Religion." So the one who conduct bad deed or attack other people using terrorism is not Muslims, but this is the citizen of Indonesia. So treat them as citizen, not bringing any religious reference to the case. Just this is the citizen who conduct terrorism. So this from this structural level, we need like more policy initiative to strengthen, to ensure interreligious diversity or religious diversity in Indonesia. While at the same time, we see that there is a hope in cultural level that can strengthen people's understanding of religious diversity. At least in all the halal bihalal and so on and so forth, they strengthen the idea of religious diversity, recognition of other religions. It is still there in the culture. Han said that this culture needs to be strengthened. Yes, we need also government policy to help to strengthen this cultural arena, but also need government policy to strengthen this schools area that's very important in creating interreligious relationship. But also at the same time, we know that there is virtual public sphere that play very important role in spreading the narratives of tolerance, harmony, and interreligious diversity. The question is, how can we make sure that this spiritual public sphere can be positive, not the negative? It's always always like in virtual public sphere, then it's always played like that. It can be negative, but it can be positive. That's why people initiative, civic initiative in public sphere is very important. I ask my students to publish anything you think it can help interreligious understanding and recognition of religious diversity in your Facebook, in your Instagram. When you go along with your Muslim friends, publish that. So it can be, this one can be area or the contested area as well, between bad narrative of religious diversity and positive narrative of religious diversity. So in this level, we need strong understanding of civil society to go to virtual public sphere to then spread the idea of interreligious diversity. Here in cultural realm, we need also strong like calling to strengthen collective cultural identity, while here we need strong public policy to do that. So that's what I think we should do in Indonesia. I don't know. Yeah, Chris.
But if we take your advice, and I'm sort of riffing off of Tanya Lee here, the anthropologist, if we take your advice and we focus on cultural ideas and cultural collective memories, and sort of talk about using the discourse of Mada, yeah, couldn't that possibly lead to things like Kalimantan Tengah, Kalimantan Barat, where you have ecumenical groups of Dayaks, Kaharingan, Muslim and Christian,
Right.
killing Madaris,
Yeah.
right? Or if you think about the beginning
Yeah.
of Ambon, right? The beginning of Ambon
Mm.
was not Christian Muslim.
Right.
It was Ambonese and BBM, yeah, Bugis,
Yeah.
Buton,
Yeah.
and Makassar.
Yeah.
And if you think about the beginning of North Maluku, it was not Christian Muslim. It
Right.
was orang pribumi
Right.
dengan trans migran lokal, yeah, the indigenous people versus Makian transmigrants.
Right. Right.
So there you had the people of Kau, who are Christian
Right.
and Muslim, calling upon a collective memory of interfaith sort of unity and collectivity, which led to 16 villages getting burnt to the ground. And, I mean, there was mutual blame on
Yeah.
all sides.
Yeah.
But so in that argument, so by looking to culture, you sort of
Right.
you take things out.
Right.
Or if you want, I don't know much about Java, but what about in Surakarta, you have Javanese Muslims and Christians doing
Right.
bilal halal
Right.
or halal bi halal.
Right.
But then, what happens when we throw the Chinese into the mix?
Right.
And so, how does that work?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess everything with hope is good, but there's always sort of, Tanya Lee has written about sort of the dangers of Adat
Right.
discourse and how, because Indonesia is no longer, there's Javanese everywhere,
Right.
There's
Right.
Bugis everywhere,
Right.
There's Minang everywhere.
Right.
The Tobelo are not everywhere; they're just in New York City.
Right.
But so you have this problem of how do we deal with? Or, I mean, Papua is probably the best example.
Oh,
Right.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where Papua, you have this. I don't even know enough to talk about it, but that sort of takes it to a whole other level.
Right.
And so, how do you deal with Indonesians versus
Right.
local identities? So, and if everybody's Indonesian, do Minahasans have the same rights in Manado as they do in Banda Aceh? Or to take sort of extremes, right?
Right.
Or Papuans and Indonesians and.
Right.
So, and I realize that if you could answer all these questions, you
Right.
would call me Papa President, and you probably wouldn't be here. But,
Right. It's very, very.
I look to you to solve these problems so I can
Okay.
do research on them.
Sorry, I didn't follow your presentation before, but I want to continue with the. So my question first is, what actually the Indonesian identity?
Yeah.
I think nowadays is every Indonesian, they have crisis of identity.
Yeah.
First they become Indonesian, or they become a Muslim, or they
Right.
become a Christian,
Right.
or some local. So we have to make clear what first is about
Yeah.
Indonesian identity. When somebody asks, where are you from? So how can you describe yourself as
Right.
who?
Yeah.
As a Indonesian, or as a Muslim, or something like that. Secondly is interreligious dialogue is not an issue. Not new issues.
Yeah.
It's already
Pass.
happened like in the 80s
Right.
or something like
Right.
that. But now become more prevalent,
Right.
more important because we see a lot of conflict
Right.
based on religious things. But since the 80s until now, the efforts from the people who have concern with religious dialogue or faith, interfaith dialogue is never changed actually. It's always elitist approach. The people can dialogue on the scholar and activists, the middle class, so not include or involve the mass-based people who actually day to day have a problem with their economic problem, political problem, or something like that. So this is the second thing. The third thing is the activists or the scholar who have a concern with interfaith or interreligious dialogue, they don't concern with political economic problem. For example, they never talk about the Papuan case. When it happened in Papua, when military do their things or suppress the Papuan people, they never talk. Even they never say solidarity statement. For example, majority of Papuan people are Christians. But we never heard from Christian leader in Java or in other place in Indonesia this said about the solidarity to the Papuan people. So, or in the case of like land grabbing or mining problem, the interfaith activists or scholars never talk about it. So these issues, one is criminalities. The second thing is they're like disengaged with the people day-to-day problem. So why, even though this issue is not an issue, but never have a solution to make or even to moderate the conflict based on religious things in Indonesia. So can you give a response?
Your name, Pak?
My name is Kun.
Pak Kun.
Yes.
Thank you, Pak Kun and Chris. It's very tough, Chris, because in one sense, I mean, strengthening local initiative can be twofold. It can be, like you say, that it can be like means of discrimination against others, but it can be also foundation to recognize multiplicity, like Warak Gendok in Semarang. It is recognized place to recognize multiplicity in Semarang, like collective, like multiply belonging of Semarang itself, like through the symbol and festivities during this moment, we can see that also like Chinese has room, Arab has room in Semarang, and actually, if we go deeper, we can see like the same thing in many places. Like addressing to what happened in Kalimantan is also important. That speaking about interreligious relation, like solidarity among Dayak itself. I did research in Dayak Saleko in the border between Indonesia and Malaysia, and I found out that the ritualization in Dayak, it can be also means to like place for Muslim, Protestant, and Catholic and even the believers in Dayak religion in Karingan can meet. So they have personal ritual, they have collective ritual, they have even national rituals in the area. So at least it can calling for like recognition of multiplicity. But yeah, you're right that it can be also a means of discrimination. But like taking an example of Semarang, it can be like multiplicity. But it is very important question about strengthening culture in interreligious relation. At the same time, it can be place of discrimination. So your question helped me to be aware about this aspect, while also keep moving to strengthening other aspect of recognition of religious diversity. Pak Kun, thank you for the question. Yes, interreligious dialogue is already like it's been many years in Indonesia, but now we need to aware about the recognition of religious diversity in Indonesia. Because of our political moments that actually sweep out many initiatives of religious diversity. Then you are right that like relationship between civil society or civic initiative for taking Ibu Margaret word, what's that? I said discrimination and I forgot your, but it's very important for me. Majoritarian. Like the sense of civic initiative to fight majoritarian is in Indonesia is very important. Like I mentioned before that the problem of discrimination is not only the problem of non-Muslim in Java, but Muslim in many places in outside Java also experience religious discrimination. So majoritarianisms, in the sense, need to be addressed by many people. By you mentioned about like the religious community, like sense of civic initiative, civic recognition within religious leader is very important. Not only between Christian in Java and Christian in Papua, but probably between like NU or Muhammadiyah leader in Java with Papuan who have the problem or human rights problem or genocide problem in Papua. It is very important to strengthen the sense of civic recognition. Thank you, Papa. Thank you.